So Keegan, you've had a blood clot in your arm, quite a very miraculous sort of situation. Can you explain how it all happened? You travelled to Adelaide with the team for round 17?
Yeah, so obviously travelled with the team, as you've said, and didn't play. Watched the game from the coach's box, which was a good experience. Obviously a bit disappointing that we didn't get the result, but we took a bit out of that from my development as well. Then stayed in Adelaide on Sunday because my dad was getting inducted to the South Adelaide Hall of Fame, which is a outstanding achievement on his behalf, so it was a great day to be a part of as well. And then woke up Monday morning ready to come back up to the coast, and my arm was pretty swollen and quite sore. Wasn't really sure what to do, so I jumped on the plane and basically drove straight to the club. The doctor wasn't there because I'd missed him. He'd gone off to work at the hospital. Spoke to a couple of staff and they got him on the phone and said, don't panic, but drive yourself to emergency. And I suppose from there, I was a bit worried. Got to emergency, sat down, waited for a little bit, went through a bunch of tests, took some blood, ultrasounds, x-rays, all that sort of stuff, and then was told that I had a blood clot in my arm, which was a bit surprising, I suppose. From there I stayed in hospital for Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, on blood thinners all week, so I had an IV in my arm. Thursday about lunchtime had to have a bit of a procedure done where they go up into the vein and use some wires to try and break the clot up, essentially, with some clot busting drugs, they call them. Took about 4.5 hours. From there, stayed on the drugs overnight, still going through the catheter in my arm. Woke up on Friday morning, had another couple of hours in the surgery room to find that the clot had basically dissolved, and there was still a bit of a compression on the vein from the exterior, which means that I'll have to have something done in the coming months to fix that up as well.
So what does it mean going forward? Obviously, football takes a back seat in these sort of situations where it's about your life. So what's the plan ahead for the next 4 months?
Yeah, so I suppose, as you sort of said again, I was quite concerned when I was sort of sitting in the emergency room by myself, not really knowing what to think. So you think a fair bit about what's going to happen and what the possible outcomes could be. And I didn't really know too much about blood clots, but I knew they weren't probably very good. So in some ways, it's a bit of a relief that it's happened this way, because it's, as I've been told, it's been building up for a number of years potentially, and it's sort of been a bit of a time bomb. So I'm quite glad that I'm okay, first of all, and that if they get through the next couple of months doing some tests and potentially having another bout of surgery in about a month to remove the first rib, that should never happen again, and hopefully by about Christmas time I'll be able to get back into full training again.
It's been quite an eventful first year for you up here. Has it been tough not having your family around with this sort of situation?
I suppose it would be tough regardless, but yeah, it was a bit confronting when I sort of got off the plane and knew that I was in a bit of strife, and then had to drive straight to emergency essentially and sit there by yourself when you usually have I suppose some family to be there to support you. I was lucky enough that my dad was able to fly up for a couple of days while I was sort of sitting around in hospital doing not a lot, but then they've taken off overseas, which they had planned for a long time, so they're overseas at the moment, mum and dad. So I think in some ways it's good that it happened when it did as well, because if they were overseas and it happened, they'd be, I think, on a plane back home pretty quickly.
Pre-season doesn't start until early November, so looking ahead, there's a bit of time now to get your body right. But can you do any training? When can you start training and those sort of things?
So essentially, my workload at the moment is very minimal for the first couple of weeks after what I've had done. I've got to take injections every 12 hours to keep the blood thin enough so to prevent any further clotting. And after that's done, I'll be able to run, I'll be able to do some skills and whatnot, but I won't be able to have any physical contact essentially. I won't be able to do upper body weights in the short term, and then after I've had my next surgery in roughly about a month, it will be the same thing for a short period of time, and then just be able to build into pre-season. Hopefully I won't be able to, all things considered, I won't miss too much of it. I'll hopefully be able to get pretty fit because I'll be able to do a lot of running.
And just lastly, it's having to inject yourself. What's that experience like? A lot of people wouldn't enjoy that.
It's not my favourite thing to do. the first one that I had when I was sitting in hospital, I was pretty worried about it. It took me a bit of time to get the courage up to actually put the needle in, but it's something that I've got to do to maintain my health and make sure that I'm able to survive, I suppose, in some ways. So you got to do what you got to do and put up with it in the short term for a bit of long-term reward, I suppose.
All the best, Keegan. We look forward to following your progress closely.
Thanks, mate.